All right, Steelers Nation, buckle up because there's a lot to get into after this one. That 27-20 win over the Colts at Acrisure Stadium looked solid on paper. But once you peel back the layers, it's clear the offense is still trying to figure itself out. The scoreboard might show victory, but there's a sense that something underneath just isn't clicking yet. And that's exactly what we need to talk about today. Let's start with what everyone's been worried about, the injuries. Isaac Seumalo left the game after aggravating that pec injury, and it did not look good. Mike Tomlin's expected to give an update later today, but for now, all eyes are on Spencer Anderson. If Seumalo can't go against the Chargers in Los Angeles, Anderson's the next man up. He's technically and unofficially the backup left guard, but make no mistake, he's a talented player who's just been waiting for an opening. Every time he's been called on, he's shown flashes of the kind of versatility and toughness this offensive line needs. So yeah, there's a drop-off if Seumalo's sidelined, but it's not like the team is throwing in a rookie who's never seen real action. Still, it's another test for an offensive unit that's already walking a fine line between progress and frustration. And speaking of that, let's give credit where it's due. The Steelers' defense gave the offense golden opportunities, and for once, they actually cashed in. That's been one of the biggest criticisms all season. Wasted turnovers, short fields with no points, missed chances. But not this time. The second quarter saw a forced fumble recovery around midfield. And just like that, the offense went on a 56-yard march capped by a short Jaylen Warren touchdown run. The next possession, another gift from the defense, an interception that set them up at the Colts' 14-yard line. That's when Aaron Rodgers fired a 12-yard bullet to Pat Freiermuth in the end zone. Efficient, decisive, exactly what you want to see from a team that's been struggling to finish drives. Then early in the fourth quarter, it happened again. Another interception, another short field, and another 56-yard drive finished off by Jaylen Warren. Same script, same result. That kind of consistency off turnovers is exactly what this team's been missing. You can feel the defense feeding the offense, and for a moment, it all clicked. That's the version of the Steelers we've been waiting for. Opportunistic, tough, and relentless when it counts. But once you zoom out, you see where things went flat. The running game, for example, just wasn't there. 23 carries total for 38 yards. That's a brutal 1.7 yards per carry. You might as well not even try to run at that point. Jaylen Warren had 16 of those carries for 31 yards, barely 1.9 per attempt. And yeah, he scored twice, which saved the stat sheet from total embarrassment, but outside of those touchdowns, there was nothing happening on the ground. It's not just that the blocking wasn't there. The lanes never developed, the rhythm was off, and every run felt like it was fighting uphill. And it's not like the backs made up for it in the passing game. Warren had 2 receptions for -2 yards. -2. That's hard to do in today's league. Najee didn't make much noise either. The offense kept trying to establish the run just to keep defenses honest, but it was going nowhere fast. When your average per carry is lower than your punter's average per kick, that's a problem. Now compare that to what the wideouts and tight end were doing. It's one thing for the tight ends to outproduce the receivers. That happens sometimes, depending on how the game plan's structured, but this time, it just felt like the receivers never really got involved. DK Metcalf, for instance, was targeted only 4 times, his season low, and caught just 2 passes for 6 yards. That's also his season low across the board. One of those was a drop, which doesn't help. But the bigger concern was how easily the Colts defense took away Rodgers' favorite target. They bracketed him, rolled coverage over, and made Rodgers look elsewhere all game long. Calvin Austin led the team in receiving with 5 catches on 6 targets, but even that amounted to just 56 yards. Productive, sure, but hardly game-changing. You can tell the offense still doesn't have that dynamic WR2 presence, that one player who can bail out a drive or stretch the field when everything feels clogged. Roman Wilson's been trending upward and showing flashes of becoming that guy. But he still makes those rookie mistakes that drive coaches nuts. Like that moment when he tried to hurdle a defender instead of just protecting the ball and moving the chains. Those are the kinds of plays that stick in the minds of the staff. Tomlin doesn't forget that kind of thing overnight, and neither do the position coaches. It's about trust, and once you break it, it takes time to earn it back. Beyond the stats, there were moments that just didn't look sharp. Kenny Gainwell not turning around in time for a pass. Rodgers visibly frustrated on the field. Darnell Washington dropping what should have been an easy touchdown near the goal line. Those are plays that kill momentum and leave points on the board. Rodgers was clearly irritated, and if you saw his post-game comments, he didn't hide it. He said he loved the play calls but thought the execution was flat-out bad. He talked about needing to look in the mirror as an offense, about how the defense played incredible and how the offense should have put 35 or 42 on the board to close it out. You could tell from his tone he meant it. Winning's great, but he knows this level of inconsistency isn't sustainable if they want to keep pace with the top teams in the AFC. Still, that's part of the process, right? You stack the wins, you fix the flaws, and you try to build momentum. This team's been talking all season about stacking. Stacking success, stacking improvement, stacking performances that show real growth. And that's what makes this game such a weird one to digest. On one hand, they did what good teams do. They capitalized on turnovers, they finished drives, they found a way to win. On the other, the offense regressed in key areas that were supposed to be improving. The running game vanished. The timing between Rodgers and his receivers broke down. And too often, they looked like a group trying to rediscover its rhythm instead of building on what had been working. It's almost like the Steelers climbed a step in one area just to slide back in another. That's not what you want in Week 8, especially when you're trying to build an identity heading into the heart of the schedule. There's talent here, real talent, but until they find consistency in execution, it's going to feel like every game's a coin flip. The defense can only bail them out so many times. And when you've got an offense led by a veteran quarterback like Rodgers, expectations are simply higher. That's why this week's matchup in Los Angeles is going to be such a telling one. The Chargers have their own issues, but their front seven can create pressure, and if the Steelers' offensive line isn't healthy or cohesive, it could be a long day. Anderson might get a shot, and this could be his moment to prove he belongs. The Steelers' coaching staff has always valued versatility, and if Anderson can step in seamlessly, that'll be huge not just for now, but for the long haul. Still, you can't ignore the bigger picture. Winning is great, but this team isn't chasing moral victories or close calls. They're chasing legitimacy, something that lasts beyond one Sunday afternoon. To get there, they've got to clean up the little things. Turnovers turn into touchdowns? Great. But let's not forget the 3-and-outs, the miscommunications, the wasted first down runs that put the offense behind schedule every drive. Those are the habits that separate playoff teams from contenders. The encouraging part is that all of this is fixable. The structure is there. The pieces are in place. You can see flashes of what this offense could become when everything lines up, when Rodgers is in rhythm, when Warren's getting north-south, when the line's holding its ground. The question is whether they can put it all together consistently, week after week, instead of just in spurts. All right, so let's keep rolling with this conversation because the trade deadline has come and gone, and the buzz around what the Steelers might do has been nonstop. Fans have been debating everything from adding another wide receiver to shoring up the offensive line, and honestly, it's not hard to see why. This roster feels close, just close enough that one smart addition could tilt things in their favor. But it's also at that fragile stage where one wrong move, one key injury, could send everything spiraling. Every year around this time, there's the same debate. Will the Steelers actually make a move? Historically, this franchise hasn't exactly been known for blockbuster trades mid-season. Football isn't like baseball or basketball, where players can plug in instantly and start contributing. The playbook, the terminology, the chemistry, it's all different. You can't just hand someone a jersey on Tuesday and expect them to be ready by Sunday. But the league has been changing slowly but surely. More teams are starting to treat the deadline as a real opportunity instead of just a formality, and that shift has opened the door for creative front offices. Take Kyle Duggar, for example. The guy practically walked in the door, barely knew everyone's names, and still managed to take nearly every snap on defense against the Colts. Not only that, he made an impact, got a game ball for his effort. That kind of instant contribution challenges the old thinking that you can't help a football team in the middle of the season. It's proof that if you find the right player with the right mindset and experience, they can adapt fast enough to make a difference right away. So the question is, what position would make the biggest difference for this team right now? Most people immediately jump to wide receiver, and that's understandable. The offense has lacked that second reliable target behind DK Metcalf, someone who can stretch the field, open up lanes underneath, and keep defenses honest. Every great offense has that number two receiver who quietly keeps the chains moving while the star draws double coverage. The Steelers just haven't had that presence this season. Calvin Austin has moments, but he's more of a gadget weapon than a consistent downfield threat. Roman Wilson's coming along, but he's still developing. And when teams are bracketing Metcalf, you can see Rodgers scanning the field, waiting for someone to break free. And it's just not happening fast enough. That's why the rumors about bringing in another receiver made sense. But when the team signed Marquez Valdes-Scantling to the practice squad, it sort of told you everything you needed to know. That move isn't flashy, but it's strategic. It's about depth, not desperation. It suggests they didn't see a trade out there worth the price or disruption, and honestly, that's not the worst call. Trades sound exciting, but chemistry matters. Rodgers needs receivers who not only know where to be, but when to be there. Timing is everything in this offense, and a misread route can turn into a pick six in a heartbeat. And then there's the offensive line. Remember that report back before the season about the team's priorities when it came to roster additions? The top two areas were wide receiver 2 and offensive line depth, specifically tackle depth. And that made perfect sense. Broderick Jones was still finding his footing. Troy Fautanu was a question mark early on, and the coaching staff had no idea what kind of durability they'd get across the line. Fast forward to now, and it feels like that concern hasn't gone away. It's just taken a different shape. Fautanu's been outstanding, coming off arguably the best game of his young career, but one injury could change everything. That's the scary part. Offensive line continuity is one of those things fans rarely notice until it's gone. When the line is healthy and cohesive, nobody talks about it. But when one piece goes missing, suddenly the offense looks disjointed, the quarterback's under pressure, and the run game disappears. The Steelers have been flirting with that line all season. If Sumalo's Peck keeps him out for a stretch, they're not just losing a starter, they're losing a leader. He's the communicator, the tone setter, the guy who keeps the line in sync. Anderson can step in and do his job, but you don't want to be one injury away from chaos in the trenches, especially with the kind of physical football this team plays. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In what could be the blockbuster shakeup of the NFL offseason, whispers are swirling that Jordan MAILATA, the so-called human wall, is set to leave the Philadelphia Eagles and take his talents to Pittsburgh. Sources close to the situation suggest that the move is less about money and more about opportunity, a chance for MAILATA to redefine what it means to dominate in the trenches. Insiders claim the Steelers are doing everything they can to make their offensive line an impenetrable fortress, and MAILATA's addition would instantly elevate them to elite status. Philadelphia fans, of course, are stunned. MAILATA has been a cornerstone of the Eagles' line, earning a reputation for his massive frame and uncanny agility for a man of his size. The buzz in Philly circles is a mix of disbelief and frustration, with some questioning whether the Eagles could have done more to keep him. Meanwhile, in Pittsburgh, speculation is reaching a fever pitch. Social media is already alive with mock-ups of MAILATA in black and gold, and analysts are debating how his presence could change the dynamic for a Steelers offense that has struggled with pass protection in recent seasons. The rumor mill is also highlighting the ripple effects. Could this signal a larger offensive line overhaul for the Steelers? And how will the Eagles respond if MAILATA officially bolts? Early chatter suggests Pittsburgh's front office sees this as a once-in-a-generation talent acquisition. MAILATA's combination of raw strength, technique, and surprising speed makes him the kind of player that can anchor a line for years, and rumors hint he's motivated to prove that he can dominate outside of Philly. As training camp approaches, all eyes will be on the Steelers' facility. Will Jordan MAILATA be donning black and gold come the season opener? transforming Pittsburgh's offensive line into something unstoppable? The buzz says the league is about to witness one of the most talked about position shifts in recent memory, and fans from both cities are holding their breath. The human wall might be changing addresses, but one thing is certain. Wherever he lands, he's about to make the trenches feel a lot smaller for opposing defenses. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.